Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. Now today we're going to be going over the other rate-up summon hero. As we went over Merlin earlier in this week, we're going to be talking about Guinevere. So, as I mentioned in the Merlin video, I do think Merlin is better. However, Guinevere is niche, but niche in the right places. So let's kind of discuss her a little bit. All right, so I do have one copy of Guinevere. I've only upped her to level 50 just because I really don't have any use for her now. However, I will be leveling her up to level 60 in the future because the end game to level up your relic skills and stuff gets really, really easy if you have Guinevere. So let's talk about her skills a little bit, like her passives, and then we'll get into her individual relics. We're going to talk about all three of them because right now, if you're watching this video, there is a current event going on with her and some other support heroes that they launched during the global release that you can farm some, some currencies and go in and, get these relics if you choose to do so. It's not very efficient with your energy. I would not suggest it as a new player. This is kind of for, the whales and krakens that got to early access and all that jazz. But anyway, that's beside the point. So let's talk about our kit a little, and we'll go from there. So she has this first passive that when she starts the battle, she grants all other allies romantic reversal for 20 turns, and then they also gain tragic ending for the rest of the battle. So what Romantic Reversal does is it gives them abnormal status immunity. Abnormal status immunity is things like control debuffs, which is similar to stun, sleep, fear, all of those types of negative effects. They'll have immunity. And it stays up for as long as Romantic Reversal is there, which is 20 turns. However, there is a little bit of a caveat, but spoiler. It also applies co-op attack damage 40% to the target. So your allies will also get co-op attack damage up. And they'll take less damage as well, as long as Romantic Reversal is up. The thing that co-op attack damage is, a lot of people don't know this, but there's some links here to individual characters. Not all characters have this, but the characters that they're linked to, like Guinevere here, has a link to Lancelot and Arthur. So whenever she uses her skill 1 ability, there's a 30% chance that Arthur will come in and do a co-op attack with his skill 1 ability. So that's pretty cool. There are a couple of heroes in this game, but I believe Guinevere is the only one that has this co-op attack damage up. I've tried a couple teams with this co-op attack, and it's never triggered for me. So I don't know if it's bugged or not, but that's really not the reason you're using her. The main reason is for that abnormal status immunity, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But she also has this tragic ending. So whenever she is hit, it has a chance to decrease the duration of Romantic Reversal on all other allies by 9 turns. So this Romantic Reversal for 20 turns, it seems like a lot, but then you read this and you're like, oh, it's basically for 1 or 2 turns, because whenever Guinevere gets hit, it just decreases it drastically. If you have the ability to skill up her passive, though, this gets a lot better. You'll have it up for like 3 or 4 turns, which is pretty nice. However, I would not recommend using your passive talismans on this. Just my personal opinion. She also has a passive that whenever she's hit with her HP at 30% or lower, it grants a shield based on 20% of her max HP to all of her allies, which is really nice. And then she herself will gain invincibility. This is with a 5-turn cooldown, and you can actually book it up to trigger once her HP is 50% or lower, which is pretty nice. The 30%, you're really in some dangerous territory there of dying. Even if you're like at 35%, you could take a big hit from a boss and die anyway. So that's a bit of a bummer. And then she has a passive where at the start of the battle, she gains shield equal to 100% of her max HP. And then she also gains effect resistance increase 3. This, I think, is purely a arena skill. I don't think it matters anywhere else. It's kind of nice to have this in boss fights where bosses go first. They deal, a decent chunk of damage. Like Penveed has a pretty big hit at the beginning of his turn, so for her to have that is kind of nice. Where I think this is good in Arena, she has some other allies in her faction, which is the Hound. This guy right here, on his Relic, he actually puts up share damage where everyone shares damage. So I think with him and Guinevere, like in Arena, when she puts up the huge shield, I think could be a pretty toxic kind of combo. But yeah, that's beside the point. So yeah, those are her abilities. Like I said, the Romantic Reversal is really the reason to use her and why she's niche. The shield and all this stuff is probably pretty useful. The cooldown time is a little too long, but hey, it is what it is. Now, something to mention is if you get one extra copy, this Tragic Ending turns into Glimmer of Hope. Sorry, Tragic Ending that is granted by that Romantic Reversal turns into Glimmer of Hope. So the Romantic Reversal being decreased by 9 turns is exactly the same. However, whenever you're hit, you have a chance, well, it's guaranteed to put effect resistance increase 1 to all of your allies for 4 turns, which is just a nice boost. So even if your abnormal status goes away from Romantic Reversal, you've increased your effect resistance, so possibly you resist it. So it's a nice little boost. So those are her baseline skills. Now her relics, she comes with the basic Storm Relic. However, I just showed you that her event does allow you to get the 10 fragments to summon either of these, so we'll talk about them a little bit. So her skill 3 is Princess's Whim, where the first time you use it, you're kind of just wasting your turn. It charges for a turn. However, though, once it goes the next turn, this is a very large multiplier. So it attacks 5 times, and the total damage is equal to 85% of your attack and 285% of your defense, which is really cool. And the last 2 hits inflict damage dealt decrease to the enemy. So this is very strong. This will do a lot of damage to bosses if they don't have any like limbs or anything like that. It's a very high multiplier, so it will crack down on some of those bosses' health pretty quick. However, you do take a turn to charge it. It does go up to 100%. So if you book that up, that's really good. And you see the damage also scales really strong. It goes up to 205% with the 285. So yeah, extremely high multipliers. Her second ability attacks 2 times. Again, pretty decent multiplier. And then it gains a shield of 5% for 2 turns to all allies. Well, she gets 5%, and then your allies get 10%. This is a very, very strong ability. And this is probably the ability that you're going to be using the most with Guinevere. And then the active ability here on her A1 is just a 3-time hitter, but also with a damage dealt decrease. This is a very strong ability in Penveed as well. So if you pull Guinevere, you shouldn't be upset. She's she's a very good support in a lot of areas. She's just not best in slot. So something to keep in mind. So the differences in the relics here from frost to storm. So storm has more attacks and higher multipliers here. And it's the same thing. Damage dealt decrease for 2 turns. This is 1 turn. Oh, so that's damage decrease 2 for 1 turn. This is damage dealt decrease 1 for 2 turns. And again, you kind of have weaker multipliers. Here she gains a better shield, and then the ally with the lowest HP gets better shield, and then she also grants co-op attack damage. So this is more utilizing the group attack. Now, I always speculate that the more content that they bring out in the game, the more likely, these relics that you had the opportunity to get pretty easily went away, or guaranteed. I wouldn't say easily, but guaranteed. So I speculate on these being kind of necessary in the future. But anyway, so co-op attack increased damage going up to 4 turns. Pretty strong. Your shield's getting stronger. And then similar thing here as the Storm Relic. So here you have the ability, I think, to do similar amount of damage as the Frost. This is damage that will decrease 2 for 2 turns instead of 1. So it's kind of a mix between the Frost and the Storm. You get the better debuff and the same amount of turns, but you get less damage than the Storm Relic, but you get more than the Frost. Here is the same kind of shield, nice shield, but also with the co-op attack damage. So it's kind of a mixture of the two that we just looked at, and then the same thing here. So yeah, overall, pretty good hero. I don't have her in particularly great gear. Her effect accuracy is bad. Her HP isn't great for a 5-star. I don't really use her. If I were to actually build her, I'd probably build her with more effect accuracy so she can put on the damage dealt decreases. And I'd probably have her speed a little bit higher so she can keep looping around to the shields with really high HP. I don't know if I'd build her as a damage dealer. It's possible. Like, it'd be nice to have her as a damage dealer and then utilize the co-op attacks. I think that'd be a really fun build. If you had the Frost Relic or whatever. So, I don't know. Something to think about. But I want to show you where she's good. Where she's niche good. A lot of people really struggle on the normal difficulty, chapter 10.7. So, Crom Crouch is the final boss here. And what we'll do is we'll take in this team, and I'll show you what happens at the beginning of this stage if some of you guys aren't familiar. So the dragon comes in and he eats 3 of your 4 heroes, and you have to get him down to these individual markers for him to spit out, one member of your team. And if you don't do enough damage, this is much harder. Like, you guys probably aren't doing that much damage on one hero as I am, but as you see, once it gets past that barrier, it spits out one of the characters. Now, if you have Guinevere, the game treats this dragon as eating all of your heroes as an abnormal status. And as we just discussed, Guinevere on her passive ability puts up that romantic reversal, which gives you abnormal status immunity. So if you have Guinevere in your team and you go in and you start this battle, the dragon actually won't eat any of your heroes. So there you go. Pretty neat. That's why she's niche. Now, it's not just for 10.7. The nice part is, about Guinevere, is one of the hardest endgame content in the game is also the same dragon in Crom Crouch in the restricted area. You go to the Sealed Temple, and how you actually get books in this game to level up your relic skills is with this boss. So it's the same thing that applies here. If you have Guinevere in your team, he will not eat any of your heroes. And that's basically all Guinevere does. Like I said, you can use her in other areas. I think she's pretty strong in Penveed as well. She's got multi-hits. She gives you a shield. So a lot of really kind of nice options there. She's just not best in slot. I think your best in slot are, your heroes like the ones that we talked about yesterday in yesterday's video with Penveed. Just this free-to-play kind of team that the game gives you to start out with. This is a really nice team to go all the way up to level 9. But if you want, you can use her in Aldry. Aldry is a weak affinity to the baseline Guinevere. You could probably use her in some clan raid. Forbidden Dungeon, she's good. Like I said, she's going to be pretty nice for arena come the end game. Her shield is going to be pretty toxic. So yeah, she's just an all-around solid hero, but not a top-notch hero for the end game other than that one area in Crom Crouch for the books. But still, a solid hero. If you pull her, she's going to be really good. I don't know if I would use, my summons on her if you don't have her, unless you like her. If you want to utilize some of those co-op attacks or whatever, knock yourself out. I will mention that she's pretty strong in the favor dungeon as well. Like she's one of the best heroes to have in here for sure. This area of the game is pretty thin right now just because the limited amount of heroes. So having someone like Guinevere in here is going to make progressing in this, a bit easier. So as I finish with most of my videos, I can't keep this up forever, but I'd like to do a 10 pop here and just kind of see what we get. We haven't gotten a legendary yet, but you see my pity's almost always 60. So that's not surprising that we don't pull it on video, but we're going to try here. Some more rares also wouldn't be bad. Okay, so no legendaries. I want some more uncommons. Whoa, 4 rares. That's pretty good. Let's see who we get. Isolde, that's always nice. Never have a problem with her. This guy's kind of interesting too. I'm working on some more uncommons to show you guys. I've seen a video recently of Bulk being very strong in an endgame dungeon. More copies of Ban are very good. I'm slowly leveling him up. Turin's also great. And I haven't found a whole lot of necessary areas for this hero yet. But yeah, these are all nice additions. My chivalry isn't maxed or anything yet, so it was really nice. But that's all I have, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.